Welcome to the Arkansas 2020 Census training provided by Arkansas Support Network. Count me in. Let's get started.
What is the 2020 Census? Every 10 years, the census records everyone living in this country. It's written in the Constitution and comes in a questionnaire that counts everyone who lives at your address on April 1st. The data can be used to inform funding for services like fire stations, schools, clinics, and representation that affect your community.
How will 2020 census data be used? Where there are more people, there are more needs for public services. That's why the census is used by the government to inform funding decisions each year. But that's not all. It's also used by nonprofits to inform services, by businesses to create jobs, and even by students for school projects. Understanding how the population changes helps us shape communities across the country for the better.
How does the 2020 census affect representation? There are 435 seats in the House of Representatives. These get distributed to the 50 states by population, and an accurate census response helps your state get the right amount of seats. States with smaller populations get at least one, while states with larger populations might get more.
How do I take the 2020 census? In March 2020, every address in the country will receive an invitation to complete a simple questionnaire, and there are 3 ways to respond. Number 1, do it online. Number 2, call by phone. Number 3, send it by mail. For those who don't respond, a census taker from your community will follow up and assist you.
Is my 2020 census data safe? After sending your census response, your personal information is kept safe. By law, it can't be shared with any other government agency, law enforcement, or landlord. No one. So take your 2020 census with peace of mind. Shape your future. Start here. Visit 2020census.gov.
The U.S. Census is required for people to fill out by law. Some typically hard-to-count populations have included young children, highly mobile persons, racial and ethnic minorities, non-English speakers, low-income persons, persons experiencing homelessness, undocumented immigrants, persons who distrust the government, LGBTQ persons, persons with mental or physical disability, persons who do not live in traditional housing situations. So what is the census? The U.S. Constitution mandates that everyone in the country be counted every 10 years. This is an effort to ensure that every person is counted. We need to get the best count we can now because it's 10 years before we get another chance. Our goals today are to understand what the census is, to understand why it matters, and to encourage you to get people we support to participate. Here's a partial list of organizations that will not have access to your personal information. These include ICE, IRS, DHS, FBI, CIA, housing authorities, and police departments. Census workers face a $250,000 fine and mandatory prison sentence if they release any information. This is true not just for the period of their employment by the census, but for the rest of their lives. No other agency can access census information. No court of law admits the use of census information. Now we'll look at a complete list of organizations that will have access to your personal information. Well, absolutely no other agency has access to this information. So there's nothing to write down. In fact, it will be kept encrypted until it can be released in 72 years for genealogists to access. It's time to look at security and confidentiality. Cybersecurity, from the beginning when a respondent answers to the end of when the data products are released, data are encrypted, saved, and secure. Follow industry best practices to protect networks from external threats and secure data inside the network. Continuous improvement of security posture. 72-year rule, as I mentioned. No personally identifiable information will be released for that time period. Since this is the first year that we're able to complete the census online, cybersecurity is a huge priority for the Census Bureau. No personally identifiable information will be released for 72 years, as I mentioned. So why does participation matter? Well, last census, a local city estimates that approximately 20,000 citizens weren't counted. If you consider that $3,300 per person per year goes into 10 years for programs and $81 for streets, over a 10-year period, approximately 660 million could have come to this area, but didn't because citizens weren't counted. Over 16 million could have gone towards street construction and maintenance. That's pretty substantial. So how's this information used otherwise? It helps develop statistics that guide decision making for the community. Your responses are compiled with information from other homes to produce statistics, which never identify your home or any person in your home specifically. So what are some of the programs that this money benefits? You can see the list here. Highway planning and construction, Medicaid including our kids, Medicare, school breakfast and lunch programs, supplemental nutritional assistance program, hospitals, schools, parks, businesses, fire stations, and also goes towards redistricting, local wards and school boards, state and federal. So how can people respond? They can go online for the first time ever, by phone, or on paper. Please note that there are some things that census takers will never ask, including your social security number, about money or donations, anything on behalf of a political party, your bank account number, or any credit card numbers. If someone claiming to be from the Census Bureau contacts you via email or phone and asks you for one of these things, it's a scam. You should not cooperate. Email is not a question asked on the census. If you have not already filled out the census, they will not have access to your information to contact you. The census form is available in 13 languages. Language guides are available in 59 languages. Here's a timeline to help you know what to expect when it concerns the census. On or between March 12th and 20th, you'll receive an invitation to respond online to the 2020 census. Some households will also receive paper questionnaires. Between March 16th and 24th, you'll get a reminder letter. If you haven't responded after that, March 26th to April 3rd, you'll get a reminder postcard. April 8th to the 16th, a reminder letter and a paper questionnaire. And then between April 20th and 27th, a final reminder postcard before they will follow up in person. The invitations to respond will have a unique ID code on them for you to use, but you can still respond even if you accidentally throw away or lose the cards. The census has to process in place to collect your response based on your address. Respond early. If you don't respond by mid-May, an enumerator will come to your house to get your response. April 1st is Census Day, but you can respond before then or after. The portal online opens on March 12th and won't close until September 2020. But don't wait. An interesting note is that children born in this period can get a certificate from the census of the population of the U.S. on that date. Here are a couple additional dates you should be aware of. Between May 2020 and July 2020, census takers will go door to door. And then December 31st, 2020, tabulation and release of census results will be given. As I said before, don't delay. You'll want to do this as soon as you can. The last day for self-response is July 31st. Now let's get into what some of the questions on the Census 2020 are. There are no long forms this year, so everyone will be answering the same questions. The first question is, how many people live or stay in your house, apartment, or mobile home on April 1st, 2020? So here you'll count everyone living and sleeping in your home most of the time, including young children, roommates, and friends and family members who are living with you, even temporarily. They ask this question because it helps count the entire U.S. population and ensures that they count people where they live most of the time as of Census Day, which is April 1st, 2020. The second question on the census will be, were there any additional people staying here on April 1st, 2020 that you didn't include in question 1? So you'll mark all that apply, including children, related or unrelated, such as newborn babies, grandchildren, or foster children, relatives such as adult children, cousins, or in-laws, non-relatives such as roommates or live-in babysitters, and people staying there temporarily. They ask this question because the goal of the 2020 census is to count everyone just once and in the right place. They want to ensure that everyone in the houses who should be counted is counted, including newborns, roommates, and those who may be staying with you temporarily. Now on to the third question. Is this house, apartment, or mobile home owned by you or someone in this household with a mortgage or loan? Include home equity loans. Is it owned by you or someone in this household free and clear, without a mortgage or a loan? Rented? Occupied without payment of rent? They ask this question because it helps produce statistics about home ownership and renting. The rates of home ownership serve as one indicator of the nation's economy. They also help with administering housing programs, planning, and decision making. The fourth question asks you for your telephone number. They only ask you this question in case there are any questions about your census form. They'll only contact you for official census business if needed. Question 5 is, what is person 1's name? If there's someone living there who pays the rent or owns the residence, start by listing them as person 1. If the owner or the person who pays the rent doesn't live there, start by listing any adult living there as person 1. There will be opportunities to list the names of additional members of your household. They ask this question because they want to know about each member of your household. This allows them to establish one central figure as a starting point. Question 6 concerns the person's gender. You can mark one box, male or female. They ask this question to create statistics about males and females, which can be used in planning and funding government programs. This data can also be used to enforce laws, regulations, and policies against discrimination. Question 7 is, what is person 1's age and what is person 1's date of birth? Note that person 1's age as of April 1st, 2020. For babies less than a year old, do not write the age in months. Write 0 as the age. They ask this question to better understand the size and characteristics of different age groups. Agencies use this data to plan and fund government programs that support specific age groups, including children and older adults. You can read more about counting young children at the link. Question 8 is person 1 of Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish origin? Please note that you want to answer both question 8 about Hispanic origin and question 9 about race. For this census, Hispanic origins are not races. Hispanic origin can be viewed as the heritage, nationality, lineage, or country of birth of the person or the person's parents or ancestors before arriving to the United States. People who identify as Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish may be any race. They asked this question to create statistics about this ethnic group. This helps federal agencies monitor compliance with anti-discrimination provisions, such as those in the Voting Rights Act and Civil Rights Act. Question 9 is, what is person 1's race? You can mark one or more boxes and print origins. White, Black or African American, American Indian or Alaska Native, Chinese, Filipino, Asian Indian, Vietnamese, Korean, Japanese, other Asian, Native Hawaiian, Samoan, Chamorro, other Pacific Islander, or some other race. They asked this question about race to analyze other statistics within racial groups. This data helps federal agencies monitor compliance with anti-discrimination provisions, such as those in the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act. Question 10 is, print the name of person 2. Here you will list the next person in your household. They ask this question about each member of the household. This question identifies the next person to refer to in the ensuing questions. This process repeats for each person in your home. Question 10a, does this person usually live or stay somewhere else? You will mark all that apply. No, yes for college, yes for a military assignment, yes for a job or business, yes in a nursing home, yes with a parent or other relative, yes at a seasonal or second residence, yes in a jail or prison, or yes for another reason. This question helps ensure that the Census Bureau is counting everyone once, only once, and in the right place. If you have questions about whether or not to include someone, you'll visit Who to Count on the Census Bureau website. Question 10b is, how is this person related to person 1? You'll mark one box. The options include opposite sex husband / wife / spouse, opposite sex unmarried partner, same sex husband / wife / spouse, same sex unmarried partner, biological son or daughter, adopted son or daughter, stepson or stepdaughter, brother or sister, father or mother, grandchild, parent-in-law, son-in-law or daughter-in-law, other relative, roommate or housemate, foster child, or other non-relative. They asked this question to develop data about families, households, and other groups. Relationship data is used in planning and funding government programs that support families, including people raising children alone. And those are all the questions. You can help ensure everyone is counted. Many of ASN's consumers utilize programs that are funded based on the census. If we don't get counted, that could mean less program funding and opportunities for our consumers. Some ways you can share it are on social media like Facebook or Twitter. You could use your mailing list to forward this information, or you can just tell friends and family. You can also get involved with the 2020 census by applying for a paid census position at 2020census.gov/jobs, or you can just volunteer. They have many positions available at 2020census.gov. Participating in the census is required by law. A complete and accurate count is critical for you and your community, because the results of the 2020 census will affect community funding, congressional representation, and much more. Thank you for taking this training.